Buddy, today.
Seems like we have back-to-back meetings, but we're trying to get everything done before the end of the year. You know how that goes.
Exactly. Let's get it all done by the end of the year. I think that's a great idea.
I was just Facebook stalking you, and we were just talking about you on our other group meeting.
Okay,
And
nice. Hope it was good.
yeah, we're like 115 doors. How do you do it? I don't know. We're gonna ask.
That sounds great. Yeah. That's great. So you guys you guys do a lot of creative type stuff. Is that right?
Correct. We do a little bit of everything. You know, we buy cash, but creative is always fun to talk about and all the good catchy stuff. And it does help with the leverage. You know, if we can get terms in our favor, that's always preferred. But
Right.
being creative is things like what you're doing, though, right? Is how do you take a house that's kind of marginal on potential income, changing the game plan on it, and also now it's phenomenal, right? It went from a lump of coal to a diamond.
So that's right.
That takes some creative thinking. So
yeah, not only that, you also start really helping. You really start serving people in a different way too. Like it's just housing is unaffordable in most of the major cities around the United States. Like this is needed. Like we got to help. We all have a responsibility, I feel like, to help Americans live affordably in places that are clean, that are quiet, that are safe. Yep. So that's what we get to do.
You know, Cindy and I had this vision probably back in May. We really sat down and talked about it. Where we were focusing our attention, where our buying heading into this year was, you know what, we need affordable housing. You know, we see this niche that really needed to be served. And so we've done a lot of our focus has been around that. Yeah, I'll say not 100% of our focus has been around that, but a lot of it has been. So
that's great. Yeah, that's great.
You know,
yeah, you just can't do a lot. I mean, if you look at the way the economy is headed, and you know, I'm a big like macroeconomics guy, and you start to see the bond rates creep up. And when bond rates creep up, it basically means the rest of the world is saying, we don't believe in American debt anymore. We're not going to finance the U.S. government anymore. So you get these bond rates that creep up, and that's bad news. Like that's the beginning of a lot of bad news. So we can dive into that, but it's fascinating to study.
No, Sam, we've been down that road before, right? But yes, as we say every time, this time's different. And I truly believe this time is really different. Oh, there, I forgot my marker. That sounds better.
There you go. Yeah.
It's truly different. The can we've been kicking down the road has gotten outrageously large. And
sure feels that way.
I think you're right. I think there's everybody in the world looking at it going, I don't know how far down the road we can kick this anymore. We're going to have to deal with it. And I don't know if anybody has a good plan of what that looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in the meantime, while they figure all of that out, let's just help everyday people and provide great housing. That's my plan.
But as people trickle in here, Sam,
yeah,
give us the background on who you are and how did you get from, you know, being that high school kid sitting in the back of the class, spacing out to like, hey, you know what? I want to buy houses and provide co-living and really help out America. So
yeah, I mean, the truth is I didn't have a lot of space out time in the back of the classroom.
Good.
I was homeschooled from day one, and my parents had a big family. That was like their dream in life, was to have a big family. So I'm one of 8 kids. And, you know, if you're one of 8 kids, you need to do something important to get some attention in your family. So for me, you know, it really started as just wanting to be somebody, you know, wanting to get some attention around here. And so the only way I could think to do that would be to like be really successful and go out there and make money and do things. So I actually had this really unique journey. It's a really unique experience where I bought a martial arts school when I was 15 years old with a loan from my parents, who were not wealthy. They really believed in me. I'm so grateful for them. I was training at this little martial arts school in this town of like 2,000 people, Amherst, Virginia. And my instructor pulls me aside and says, hey, I want to like hire you. And so he ended up hiring me to do some odd jobs around the school. And that turned into just me doing a good job, me showing up every day, me being a good trainee, turned into him saying, man, I'm just so burnt out. and I'm trying to find someone to sell the school to. And his mentor, so my instructor's instructor, thought you would be good. He said, I don't know if you'd be good, but my instructor thinks you'd be good. He's seen you in class. So let's talk about selling the school. So he took my parents out to lunch and said, hey, I think Sam can buy the school. I ended up being the owner of this martial arts school. So that was how I cut my teeth on entrepreneurship. So here I am. I just turned 16. I'm spiking my hair to look older and pretend like I'm in charge. My parents were supposed to be there every day with me. They didn't. They had 7 other kids to deal with. So I ended up running this school by myself. And I learned about sales, and I learned about marketing. I learned about taxes, and I learned about QuickBooks, and just basic stuff that was really, really, really beneficial for me. And I ended up growing. I ended up just kind of building on that foundation, learning through a lot of trial and error. Always had a mentor. Always was like paying coaches. Got involved in Tony Robbins's organization. So was going to Tony Robbins events when I was 17, 18 years old. He kind of became a second father figure to me, hired a martial arts consultant that knew business really well, and just had this really crazy experience of going from a small school in a small town, moving to a bigger town, thanks to my mentors, grew literally one of in the top 1% of all martial arts schools in the nation in a town called Charlottesville, Virginia, turned that school over to my brother, moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, bought a few more schools, and ended up building a chain of martial arts schools. So I scaled a chain of martial arts schools, all under one brand. And as of 4 weeks ago, I have now successfully exited that chain of martial arts schools. I sold the brand. It's called Up Level Martial Arts. It's a really beautiful community that we built. We had an online program that was teaching students in Canada and 25 other other states in the US. And so we really built something beautiful, but now I've switched my focus and I'm now all in on the real estate stuff. Throughout this journey of building a chain of martial arts schools, I was starting to invest in real estate because that just felt like the right thing to do with my cash. I didn't know the stock market. I felt like I had no control over the stock market. I had an IRA. I think I do still have an IRA, but like I don't know. I felt like I'd get my statements and like some months it'd be up and some months I'd be lower than I put into it. And I was just like, this doesn't feel like I can do anything about it, And I hated that feeling, feeling out of control. And so I really just started, I'd get a primary residence loan and I'd live in a room. And when I got it, I'll never forget, man, I bought my first house in Charlotte. I had a condo in Charlottesville, but I bought my first house in Charlotte. It was like 130,000 and I put down like 3% or maybe 5%. So it was like 12, whatever that is, 5, 10, 15 grand or something. Really, really simple. And I remember walking in and staying my first night there, and 2 things. One, the heat didn't work that night and it was like 30 degrees outside. So I remember it being super crazy cold. Like I'll never forget this. And the second thing I realized was it was too quiet. I come from a big family, a lot of commotion. And I was like, I just got to rent rooms. Like not for money. I had a good job. I was running this successful chain. I was like, I was on cloud 9. My head was this big. I was like making a name for myself in the martial arts industry. I was like 20 some years old. And then I just started renting rooms because I wanted friends. And these guys, I'd rent these rooms, and one guy from Mexico came in. We had a great time. He just became a good buddy of mine. We'd always do stuff together on the weekends, and he'd help me improve the house on the weekend. It was great. Rented to a couple other guys, and then realized, like, wait a second, this is actually good money. I'm doubling the rent by renting rooms, and it's not that hard. It wasn't hard for me because I was finding good people that I wanted to live with. So for the next 5 years, I just bought 5 homes. Just, I'd move every year, move 3% down, 5% down, 3% down. And as I left, I'd fill the primary, bedroom that I was staying in.
Right.
And I went kind of on this journey of like, do you think 5 people could share a house? I know it works with 4 because I did it. What about 5? And then the next house I bought, I was like, what about 6? The next house I bought, I was like, what about 7? And I started to like fix all the problems that come up with this model. Like, well, where do people park, and how do you deal with tenant disputes, and how many refrigerators do you need, and how do you keep Johnny from eating Susie's peanut butter when it's left on all that stuff I fixed, I solved. And I solved it through just good, creative, to use your word, systems, good systems, and a little ingenuity and a little, figured out. Until now, we just launched a house that would normally rent for $2,500 if I was to rent it on the open market. And we just launched it. In 2 weeks, we filled it, and it has 10 tenants, 10 people sharing the house. And then it grosses over $8,500.
Wow.
And so as crazy as that might sound, you got to keep in mind, I got 8 siblings and 2 parents. I was raised in a 1,900 square foot house. I just thought this was normal. I thought this is how everybody lived. I was like, what do you mean that's a lot of people? I grew up in a 1,900 square foot house. I had 8 kids, 2 parents. It was just normal. 4 boys, 4 girls. We all thought it was great, but now there's ways to do this where, now it's not just me talking about this. And this was what's really cool over the last 3 to 5 years is you've got companies like Pad Split who came out with a strong mission and said, we're going to solve affordable housing, and we're going to do it. Not just solve it. We're going to do it with 0 government subsidies. That is not a small feat. We are 7 million affordable housing units short in the United States as it stands right now, and that number is growing. So for Pad Split to come in and say, this is the mission of our company. We're a tech company. We're a platform. We're going to solve it. We're going to do it with 0 government subsidies. And now they just crossed over, I think, 9,000 rooms, which is like barely a blip in what they need to accomplish and what we need to accomplish. But, Mark Cuban just became one of their biggest investors. So we're talking now they're getting press, right? U.S. Department for Housing and Urban Development came out and said, they came out with an official statement saying, we believe co-living can solve affordable housing. And we are not only going to endorse co-living, but what we're going to do is we're going to allow you to use housing choice vouchers for co-living. So now I can use a housing choice voucher for you to rent a room. Now, my company doesn't choose to do that, but you could. So now you can get guaranteed rent on a room, not just an apartment or a house like it used to be. So there are some really, really, really cool developments. This is not just a theory anymore. This is happening. It's a wave. You can choose to participate in it or not. This is just, I was on Bigger Pockets. I was on the podcast Bigger Pockets about 1.5 years ago. And when my episode came out, we had like 450,000 downloads in the first 30 days.
Oh, wow.
And I had people reaching out to me. This is why I started a course, because I just had like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people reaching out to me. We couldn't handle it. And I just said, but I had this one guy reach out to me from Germany, and he lives in Berlin. Now, Berlin is one of the most expensive cities in Europe to live in. And he said, Sam, you got to stop talking about this as if it's a new thing. It's not new. We've been living like this in Europe for decades. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true. And he's like, I go to hire software engineers. He ran a software engineer company. He said, they can't even move here. I cannot pay them a big enough salary to get them to move to Berlin to join my company, even though I'm a very successful company. He said, so what I had to do is I had to start building co-living buildings from the ground up and offer like the rent included in their salary to get these software engineers to move here. He's like, but we have whole building codes to like specifically for co-living. It's not new. You guys just in the United States are like a little behind the times. And I'm like, yeah. Things are starting to get more expensive here, like they already have been in Europe for a long time. So I could go on. That's my intro, but that's the intro. I'll let you take this wherever you want to take this. But ultimately, I'm passionate about being a solution to affordable housing. People think, sometimes I get on these podcasts and I'll talk to people and they'll be like, man, like that sounds like the most greedy, money hungry way to just make this terrible place. But like, if you let me share my screen, I will show you some houses that we have 10 people in that you'd think were 5-star Airbnbs. Like, you're like, what? I would live there. And I did live there. I lived in these homes for 13.5 years. All through my career growing this martial arts company that I just exited. And then when my wife met me, we've been married for 5 years. When she met me 6 or 7 years ago, I had 6 roommates. And she was like, yeah, this isn't going to work for me. If you want to get married, I'm like, okay. So now we have our own house. But my point is, like, I'm a product of the product. This isn't me just preaching a new strategy to make money, even though I do believe this is the fastest way to achieve financial freedom in the real estate market today. Yeah. With interest rates and prices where they are today, unless you just get lucky with some Airbnbs. But even that's a whole different ballgame. You're in the hospitality industry, right? If you want to be in that industry, great. But I just don't believe that, I believe, and if you look at the next 5 to 10 years of what's happening in our economy, I want to be recession proof. I want to be prepared for whatever is happening. And if you want to be recession proof, if you want to be able to weather a storm, you need to be in an industry of something that is needed, not something that's just wanted. You want to be in something that's paid for by dollars, that are not disposable income dollars. These are dollars that are, I have to have this thing. And housing someone has to have. A luxury Airbnb that's $1,000 a night, which I have 8 of those are not needed. Those are wanted. Those are desired. Those are great. But like, I just sold one of our biggest ones. I closed on it a week ago, and it felt good. It really felt good. So I'm redeploying that capital into co-living. We can take this anywhere we want. That's my intro to co-living. Hope that was helpful.
It was perfect, Sam. I appreciate it. And I'm sure the departure from all the schools that you built was a happy and a sad moment, right? It's a jubilation because that's what you built it up, and it's watching a baby grow up and leave, right? But it's been part of your life for so long. So
thank you for acknowledging that. Yeah. Thank you for acknowledging that. It was very sad. It was sad because it was doubly sad because the circumstances around it, which I won't get into, but I had a CEO that was running it, and he went off and did some bad things. And so that also led to the acceleration of me selling. And I was like, I don't want to be CEO at this moment in my life.
Yeah. So time for that to happen. So
yeah, the transition.
I didn't make you co-host, so if you do want to share some pictures, you're more than free to do so.
Okay.
But I love that the fact that you kind of created co-living environment through wants and necessities rather than saying, oh yeah, those people are doing it, I'm going to do it.
Right.
You were like, I got rooms. It's way too quiet.
Yeah.
Let's bring some friends in, let's make this happen. And just through living it, you created a system.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. And I guess part of that whole secret of how it's been gone so well for you is you've created a system, right? It's just not just happenstance. You've seen the problem. It sounds like you fixed it, right? Then you made an SOP around that process. Said, okay, Susie's not going to be eating Robin's peanut butter anymore. We're going to fix that.
We got to fix that.
Whatever that process is, you just kind of make that standard for the next house and then shared it with everybody else. So
that's right.
What are some of the biggest hurdles in co-living?
Yeah, there are some. It's new. The biggest hurdle is that it's nuanced. It's kind of like, well, frankly, it's kind of like Airbnb when it first came out. Airbnb was just nuanced. It was like people were like, wait, let me get this straight. You're going to put your vacation house up on this app. People are going to book it and not destroy it. Like, that'll never work. Like, that's crazy, or you're going to rent out a room in your home, because when Airbnb first started, it actually was tailored a lot towards rooms and shares. Right.
Yes.
And, people just couldn't wrap their head around that. Right. It was like very hard. And now we have Airbnb and it's like very socially acceptable. I always use the example too, when I talk about the nuancedness of co-living, is I always use the Uber example. I mean, I remember when Uber first came out, the initial vibe of Uber was like, whoa, let me get this straight.
Yeah.
This random app that just came out is going to tell you to go pick up someone somewhere in town, take you some random place somewhere else, and like they're going to sit in your back seat in your car and not mug you. That's never going to work. Now it's like, I always walk past the taxis to go to the Ubers, right? It's just how I do it. So I think recognizing that, even if in your brain you're thinking that'll never work, recognizing that things like this start and the nuances get figured out. A lot of times they get figured out by these big tech companies. They get figured out like guys like me that are just passionate about doing this and creating passive income and solving affordable housing. And then there just kind of becomes this pool of information, this pool of data that everybody plays off of. And I'm starting to see it already. Like, I am in touch with the executives at PadSplit, which is the largest tech company doing co-living in the world right now. And, it's funny. We like play off ideas. They're like, Sam, we like that. We're twisting this. And I'm giving them ideas and they're giving me ideas. So it's the rising tide raises all ships. And now we're all doing this better. We're fixing these systems in advance. Right. And so what are the biggest hurdles? The biggest hurdles are probably, I would say one of the biggest hurdles is really just helping people understand when they move into your house, what they're getting into, and establishing like clear expectations.
Right.
And so we do that with a little, and I might even be able to share this if you want. Let me see if I can find this, but we do this through a little video that we send to everybody when they, I don't know if I can find the video right off the top of my head, but it's this little video that people get when they join the, when they apply for one of our co-living spaces. We send them this little video to say, hey, you got to watch this and just so you learn what we're all about. And the video tells them, hey, this is who we are. This is not a party house. This is what you're going to get. This is what co-living is. I mean, it really like sets the stage. And it says, hey, here's some of the house rules, right? We have quiet hours. You're not allowed to have weapons on the premises. Unfortunately, while we love pets, just can't do pets in these premises. We do limit the overnight guests. So I think the biggest hurdle for people is like coming out of the gate with strong expectations on what's expected in a co-living home. There are other hurdles, but I
directly say it's the beginning. Yeah.
Right from the beginning. Yeah. And getting them to initial that and having a process where if someone breaks the rules, you can evict them for breaking the rules. But ultimately, if people understand that, then, and if you do a good job vetting your tenants, then like, and that's the hardest part, by the way. People will get into this game, and I get people that will say this all the time. Like, okay, like it's not that hard to find the houses. It's not incredibly hard. It's not incredibly hard to set them up. Although I have seen some setups in some homes that are just like, why did you do it that way? But because you're kind of shifting some of these single family homes to co-living. Now I'm working on some ground up development for co-living. So it'll be built for co-living.
Okay.
And that's going to be even a bigger wave of the future. Because if you build it with the right number of bathrooms and bedrooms and all of that, it's like, it's gold. You don't have to do any of these little rehabs. But setting those expectations from the beginning and doing a great job vetting your tenants, which is not co-living specific, by the way. Anybody who here has rented anything, a car, on Turo, like know that like the worst problem about renting stuff is the people who use the stuff. Like even if it's a single family home or a multifamily, like you can have bad tenants that can destroy your property. I've got this one guy. He's in he was actually just recently on my podcast, and he bought one single family home and he rented it out, and the lady who was renting it turned it into like she turned it into a strip club is what she did. And he found this out only like 6 months later when like neighbors were calling and complaining to him, and he was just like, what the heck? But and then he tried to evict her, and it took like 6 months to evict her, and he was just like, I will never again have a house that I can't get into at any point in time. And so this is just kind of funny, but like his main motivation for doing co-living was that he could enter the homes at any time you wanted to. Because in co-living, you can just go into the common areas anytime you want. You don't have to like give notices because it's a common area. Anyway, that's how he like stumbled into co-living, was because this one house, this terrible experience. But I forgot exactly where I was going with that, other than just to share that as an anecdote to why I think some people choose this model. I'd say another hurdle is and to share an anecdote about how important vetting your tenants is no matter what you do. But co-living can be a little bit more specific.
So Sam, are all your co-living in the same area, same city, same metro area? Are you spread out all over?
I personally focus my investments on 2 markets in North Carolina. We have Asheville and then Charlotte, North Carolina. They're two of my favorite markets. I like them because you get to economies of scale. I think with co-living right now, with where it's at, it's really difficult to do it at multiple places around, unless you've got a good team and good boots on the ground in different places. Because I'd say that's another hurdle. The hurdle is the management, right? And that's why every hedge fund in America isn't buying this. And that's because the management hasn't, it's still nuanced, right? Like we've kind of discussed. But I have in my mastermind right now, we represent about 1,000 rooms, maybe a little bit more, maybe 1,100. And we have homes in probably 20 different markets. One of our biggest clients, one of my students is in San Francisco. He's the largest co-living company in San Francisco. He has 400 rooms there. And then we have Nashville and Dallas and Austin and Florida and Tampa and St. Pete and small towns in New York. And like, we've got a good handle, Boise. We've got a good handle on a lot of different markets in the United States. So this can work anywhere as long as housing is needed and wanted.
Catherine has a question on the side over here. She wants to know, what's the ideal house that you're looking for that fits this model as far as location, size, square footage, and probably like the bedroom versus bath count per tenant.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that you're really looking to create an amazing experience, and that you know you're not. You can do this in any size house, I think is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't have to be a certain size house. Now, obviously, larger homes, you can fit more people and have them spread out more. But, I have a co-living house right now that's like 1,800 square feet. And I have a co-living house that's 4,000 square feet. So there's quite the gap there. I mean, ultimately, what we're looking for is a house that gives us the return that we want to have as investors. We put that investor hat on. We need to be able to have that return. You can have so that's the biggest thing. It's like, what can I do? Where can I provide a great home? I would say stay away from HOAs. I think that's really important. I think right now, with kind of where we're at with co-living, I think kind of having a pulse on the city's appetite for co-living.
Yeah.
We have a tremendous amount we operate in what would be considered a gray area, but we have a good faith argument for how we can operate. Like, we're not like going in skirting the rules. We have some arguments for, hey, we are able to do this, and here's why, and here's how. We're protected under the Fair Housing Act. We're protected because of our structure. We use these membership agreements instead of these leases because we're like a club, and so we have members of this house. And so, a lot of these big companies, we're getting creative in order to be able to operate. But I think there are some cities, if you got to know kind of the pulse, right? If you have a pulse on the city, like for example, Nashville is just like a pain in the ass. Even if we do have the legal right to do it, they just like to, they're very strict and they want to fight everything, and they're done. So you just got to know that going in. But I think if you do a great job with the experience, like I'm going to share my screen here for a second, because I want you guys to see these. So this is the home I referred to that we just launched that has 10 rooms in it.
Oh, nice.
Looks like an Airbnb.
This is the common space, right? I'll share a few more. So we kind of this was the garage we turned into the common space, because we turned most of the other room into bedrooms. And so you've got just places for people to work and hang out. It's a really beautiful brick home. We added that parking onto the front. We furnished the common areas, and it's in a nice neighborhood.
Is that the need for good parking at your place kind of the way you keep the peace with the neighbors, so to speak?
It is. Yeah, it is. You've got to have a parking plan for every house. I'm just kind of scrolling through to kind of give you guys an idea. That's how we label things, and we have our standards here. We have, we put these mail slots on the side. Everybody keep their mail separate. We don't actually furnish. This is the only house we tried furnishing a couple of bedrooms. We don't normally do that, and we won't do it again. We didn't actually like doing it. Some of the companies will furnish the room. So our model is really not furnishing the rooms, and just making sure that we have a good, people. I want the room to be the new apartment. So people can move in their own stuff to that.
And that's a different philosophy than what Pad Split has, if I remember correctly from Pad Split, is they have furnished rooms. Is that correct?
Yeah. And Pad Split's average tenancy, I think, is like 6 to 8 months right now, and ours is almost triple that. So our model is more like, the model I'm teaching is more like, hey, I lived in this for 13 and a half years. I would probably still be living in this regardless of my income. Whereas Pad Split is more like, this is temporary. We want you to go out and then buy your own home. And I'm like, I think that's actually kind of a cool way to live, even if you make 6 figures a year.
Right.
Live here. Let's just spend more money on experiences. Like that's what I want to try to promote. In my head, the vision that I see is like, we're already so lonely. Right? We're already like fighting this social media loneliness epidemic where people aren't connecting. And I was in the Delta Lounge at Atlanta Airport the other day, and it's just like every single person is on their phones. And I had just gotten back from this small town in Mexico where like you didn't have Wi-Fi 90% of the time. So you just like have to connect with people and talk and chat, and like recognizing that and so bringing people together, I think is just a cool way to live. Regardless,
it really doesn't hurt to actually talk with somebody.
Right. Go figure, right? Go figure. So it's a really interesting, I think that's the vision that I have for co-living. So it is different. I want people to consider this home. I want you to think of this as home. It's not temporary place. Whereas pad split is a little bit more like, hey, you can rent it for a week and that's okay. Right? We're going to have longer lengths of stays. Our expectation is that you're going to stay for a year, initial term for 1 year. That's our expectation. And then after that, we'll let people go month by month if they want to, just because we're not in the business. We're not like renewing things every year just for our volume. It just keeps it simple, but we have a great tendency that way. We've got people that stay a long time. We have people who've stayed for 9 years. Like I've got a guy that was living in it when I first started this still, 9-10 years now. It's like, so that's cool.
That is cool. Is that membership model, that's how you said you get around some of the housing potential issues by going to a membership rather than a lease? Is there any challenges around having a membership and then trying to do what a lease helps you do, which is an eviction? Or is that actually easier because it is a membership and you can just cancel somebody's membership?
Yeah. And again, I have to preface this by saying I'm not a lawyer, but this, that's my disclaimer, and I truly am not a lawyer. However, we've worked very closely for the last year and spent tens of thousands of dollars just kind of taking this structure of a membership agreement, similar to maybe a fraternity or, in North Carolina, at least, if you would ever, you used to be able to like go into these places that were like clubs, and they would serve beer and alcohol. They'd serve like beer and wine, but they didn't have an ABC license. And so you'd have to buy like a $1 membership at the door. Yep. And then you were a member, and then they could serve you because you're a member of the club. So it's a similar model to that, where you're a member of the club, and yeah, in essence, you just cancel somebody's membership. You're truly a membership model, if you decide to go that way. So that's, ultimately, a lot of times whoever owns the house is leasing it. You want to lease it to just one person. In the United States, a LLC is considered one person. So you can lease it to an LLC. That company happens to be a membership company, and it's got a bunch of members that get to use that house because they pay the dues and they follow the rules, et cetera, et cetera. So in some ways it is easier. It's nuanced, but it's easier. And that's how we have to do it right now.
So you have that when you first start off a new house,
right?
You kind of have to find that one key person to build that LLC around? Or do you start right off with, getting a group together into the LLC and say, okay, you are the new membership for this house?
Well, it's not, the way we work it is like whatever company owns the house just leases it to the membership company. And the membership company just has hundreds of members.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not like I'm not creating a new membership company for every house.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of great questions here.
Yeah.
Side chat. So let's go through a couple more, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Let's do it. Leslie says, does building for co-living lend itself to senior assisted living spaces? Yes, it can. It's not my model specifically, but I mean, it can. If there are people out there that are doing kind of like the co-living model specifically for assisted living in these small homes. They're actually becoming pretty popular because, not everybody wants to go live in a big, like a facility. Like it feels cool to go live in a home that's in a neighborhood. And so the challenge with that is just like, and sometimes they'll put 2 people to a room or 3 people to a room. They'll have 8 or 9 rooms. And it's like the cash flow is just insane. But there's some licenses that go along with that. There's some employees that go along with that. There's a little bit more. That's not my model. I know people who are doing that, but it can. The building part of it can, yeah. You can build it specifically for that. I think it's just, you have to really understand that. For me, I focus on what I think is the biggest population that needs this, and that is young. I say young working professionals. I don't even think they have to be young. They could be in their 30s and 40s, but they're working professionals. They're single, or they went through a divorce, or they never got married, or they have a girlfriend in a different state or a significant other somewhere else. And they need a place to live, an affordable place to live. And so that's kind of the biggest market, I think, for this.
Do you see that then location close to transportation or walking distance to areas that have lots of jobs? Is that a location requirement?
Yeah. It's not a requirement. I think it really depends on your city. For example, if you're in Charlotte, we don't have great public transportation. So you gotta have parking. People are going to have cars. Most people are going to have cars. In San Francisco, like I mentioned, somebody in San, like They don't even think about parking. They don't have any parking. So it really just depends on the area you're in and what that looks like. But yes, it's definitely a plus. If you're close to public transportation, it's definitely a plus for sure. For sure.
So, do you have DSCR lenders who help finance co-living homes?
Yes. Yes, you can finance co-living homes in a variety of different ways, but yes, DSCR lenders are a great way to do that. Some DSCR lenders will underwrite it based on like Airbnb income. And so that's key too. I think that's really great. So you have to get, and then there's some DSCR lenders out there that have like a no debt ratio. So that like that you're going to charge you a higher rate on it, but they actually don't even look at, technically, I guess it's not a DSCR loan if they're not looking at the debt service, but they have these no ratio DSCR loans, which is kind of funny because it's kind of an oxymoron. But anyway, it's that's a way that you can finance these. You can use second home loans for these. And you know what's cool about this strategy too is you can use them as legit primary homes. Like if you're willing to move in for a little bit. At first, I tell people this all the time, and people with, people that are married, they've got kids, they've got a family. I say, and they're like, well, Sam, I could never, like, I like that strategy because then they like to put 3 to 5% down. I like that strategy, but like, I'm not going to live with people. I have a family. And I'm like, cool. Move into a new house now, rent the one out that you're currently living in, and then just do that every year. And you never have to live with anybody. As long as you're buying homes with co-living in mind. So you move, you live in it all by yourself for a year, and then you move again. But as soon as you leave, you've already bought that home with co-living in mind. Boom, you convert it, and now you have a co-living home. Most Americans can retire off of the income of 3 to 5 co-living homes. If you buy them right, if you have good cash flow, you set them up correctly. I want to say that that's not a promise. This is what I've seen if it's done right, if it's done correctly. And that is powerful. So like, how about a 3 to 5 year retirement plan for your family? How does that sound? And most people are like, yeah, sounds good. Like, let's go down that path. Might take some sacrifice, but there's power. There's power to that strategy as well.
All right.
Leslie's asking about A, B, or C neighborhood. Should we address that one?
Sure, please.
I mean, I think you can get co-living homes in any neighborhood you want. I think it just depends. I think you're going to have more kickback in A neighborhoods and you're going to have less cash on cash. You're going to have less return. Just the nature of A neighborhoods. Like you're going to pay more to be in a nice neighborhood. But some people like being in nicer neighborhoods.
Pay real close attention to the HOA, right? And as soon as you get those rules, everything changes. So
yeah, I'm not a big fan of HOAs. I've gone to court with HOAs before and had some great experiences with that. So I say great, not so great experiences. Did I say great experiences? I like, most of the stuff I buy is in B neighborhoods. I think you can do C neighborhoods are good too. I'd love to be in C neighborhoods that I feel like are, up and coming. I think those are great. Those are really great,
And then, do you focus at all on student housing? Being close to universities or campuses? No,
I don't think that's important at all.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Student housing is a whole different ballgame, truthfully.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting parents to sign leases. You're having 9-month stays. You have parties. There are whole companies that are dedicated to student housing. You want to be in student housing, go into student housing. Like that's different. That's a different ballgame. So no, we don't touch that at all. I mean, out of the 300 tenants I have, we probably have 3 college students, maybe. It's very, 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 very low. It's like less than 1%, right? Because that's not who we focus on. Who you focus on can make or break your co-living company. I mean, it really, really can, right? Especially at this stage, right? So if you want, you've got to go after and vet with a really, really, really good system. I can't tell you how many people will go out there, they'll try it, they'll come back, they'll say that doesn't work. But it's just because they didn't have the right strategy to actually manage everything, the right systems to manage everything, tenant disputes, to handle the vetting process, slightly different. So that's really, really, really important.
Leslie has a good point here. if you don't mind talking about your membership versus a lease, then what kind of time frame or term is someone committed to being in that membership? And can they get out in 30 days, or are they in for a year? How does that look?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it's the long story short is, if you do a membership agreement correctly, you really can't specify a length of stay. And that is just the way it rolls, because otherwise, if you specify a length of stay, a lot of times you kind of get kicked out of the membership agreement category. And that's why we spent so much time and money creating these. And then you could easily be classified as a rooming house or a boarding house.
Okay.
And that's not good. So you can't, but you can say, hey, you have to give a 60-day notice. You can say you have to give a notice before canceling your membership. You can do that. And again, my disclaimer is I'm not a lawyer, but this is something we've talked about a lot with our team. I reached out to Pad Split early on, when they were kind of launched. Well, yeah, few years back. And as they were kind of getting up and going, they have thousands of rooms. And I just reached out to them and said, hey, how many times have you been shut down by the city? And they said, hey, we've actually never been shut down by the city. And I was like, wow, really? That's crazy. How do you do that? And they said, well, we've got a strategy. And I said, well, let me get my lawyer on the call and let's connect on how to do this, And so we were able to kind of model after their systems, and frankly, I think improve it as well for our business. But ultimately, yeah, you can set the expectation for a year, but legally on the membership agreements, it just you kind of diss the whole membership agreement if you start requiring a length of stay, because then you're not a member any. It's the way it works. And leases, of course,
you're a member for as long as you want to be.
Exactly.
You have to give notice when you depart. When you
exactly. Yep. So, I like this question on how do you connect your students with people like me who want to be the boots on the grounds, the operator partners.
Great question.
My intention was about how to connect with Sam students in its course if I don't want to purchase the property. I got you. So if you want to be the operator on the ground, yeah, I mean, if you want to be an operator and you want to so Catherine, if you want to be an operator and you want to use your knowledge of this model and build out a company in Orlando, let's just say, if that's where you're from, yeah, there's tons of opportunities for that. I mean, tons. That's honestly how I recommend a lot of people get started, is through some sort of arbitrage where they're not necessarily owning the properties, but they're creating the company around it. I think there will be, Vacasa is a large property management company for Airbnbs, and they went public. I don't think they've done quite so well since they went public, but when they went public, they were worth $1 billion. And they were they were buying smaller Airbnb property management companies at pretty significant, they were paying good money for them. And I think there's an opportunity to do that here. If someone wanted to build a portfolio and then sell to a Pad Split or Bungalow or a Common, those are other tech companies that are doing this. So that's a cool way to play it. But if you're interested in doing that, I can connect you with my COO. His name is Ramu, Ramu. Here, I'll drop an email in your, and we'll connect you. And you can talk about what we look for, because we always are looking for affiliates, and our students are looking for good markets. I like the Orlando market a lot, actually.
Well, we appreciate that. We have a really good community of people who want to help and go out and do good things. So
awesome. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Richard's asking, is co-living just like multi-generational homes? I mean, doesn't necessarily have to be multi-generational. It could be all of the same generation. It's basically just like another word that I think makes a lot of sense to people is shared housing. But people are getting together and sharing a house. That's pretty common, right? But doesn't have to be. I mean, sometimes it is cool, because you will get someone that is on a fixed income and they're 66 years old, and then you'll get someone that's 28, just out of college, or just out of, into their first job or something. Maybe not just out of college, but into their first job, and, just wants to afford. So you kind of do have the multi-generational aspect of this, Richard. So it's a great point. as well. Yeah.
So in your homes, you do have common spaces. Those common spaces are maintained by you. Is that correct? You provide
Yes.
them. Those are cleaned. Their trash is taken out, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
How
Yeah, I
often
think
do you
that
do that?
we do it once or twice a month. Yeah, we have a checklist that everybody has to pitch in on to help like maintain the home, and we make that very clear initially that they have to contribute. And if someone says that sounds like chores, like I don't do that. That was when I was like, that sounds like when I was living in my mom's house. Then it's fine. They just pay $50 a month and they can opt out, and we'll just get someone to cover their week. So that's like one system we use. Another system we use is really just handle we'll send in professional cleaners. I mean, the cash flow from these homes is so great. You can afford to spend to give cleaners once or twice a month. Yeah, so we'll do that. We take care. We provide the furniture in the common areas. That's it. We furnish that's the right way to do it, I think, for sure.
And
we do not furnish the bedrooms though, and I think that's important. I think that's a distinction that I know we talked about this briefly, but I would say that's a pretty big difference between the model that I preach versus what most people are doing. And I think it leads to a lot longer tenancy if someone brings in their own furniture. Just hey,
it kind of makes that room then theirs, right? That living space is now theirs. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes it theirs. And it feels like, hey, this is your new apartment.
Yeah.
The room is the new apartment. I think that's coming. That's where we're headed towards for sure.
So then your cleaning people, they're really your boots on the ground, so to speak, and giving you feedback as to, hey, Sam, this house looks great. People are amazing. But the house over here on 123 East Street, you might want to go knock on the door or go check it out. Is that building that relationship is very important?
Yeah, we've got detailed system. Every time a cleaner walks in, they have to fill out a checklist that gets sent to us with pictures. We get a solid update on the homes every time that they go in. So yes, them, and then obviously property managers coming in and showing the homes, or, there's another way as well. We used to not do this, but we started doing this just for security purposes. We do have cameras in the common space, only in the common space, and we let people know that ahead of time. So we can check in, if we need to, pretty much. That's nice. It's nice to have an eye in the sky on, 35 homes or so or whatever. So
technology today really makes that super easy as well.
Easy, super cheap. Yeah.
And that's also another great selling point for safety, right? And people are when they're first getting into this model and wondering who we're living with. And it's not like Wild West happens. It's common space. We're all respectful in that area, and it's managed, and it's safe space.
That's right. A place for people to work. I think, having kind of a co-working element to it is nice. Place for people to work, place for people to connect, place for people to eat, place for people to hang out. That's nice. A lot of co-living companies will tell you don't need a common space. And that's something we disagree with. We think a common space is like part of the community aspect of the home. I mean, to do co-living correctly, you really need to have good, solid systems around keeping it safe, keeping it quiet, and keeping it clean. If you do those three things, you can scale co-living. But the fourth thing I would add to that, if there was a fourth thing, it would be safe, it'd be quiet, it'd be clean, and there needs to be a community element to it. That's how you can just crush the numbers, charge more, be at the top of and at the same time, just keep people a lot longer in there because they're enjoying it. They're having more fun in it. So I think that's important.
And again, that house that you showed, the common areas, they weren't over the top, just enough to make it feel comfortable and have that community element, right? Hey, this is a great fun place to hang out, to work, to entertain yourself. So
yeah, exactly. And that way the vibe of the house is completely different. It changes. You're trying to create this really great, it's still trying to create a home experience. That's what we're trying to do, right? It's affordable housing, but we're still trying to create a great a great home experience. And Leslie's right. She's saying pad split, basically they're very big on having no common spaces, right? To minimize interaction between the tenants is how I've always heard them say it. And she's police interaction. That's funny. Yeah, I think you could do a lot better with, I think I think PadSplit's figuring this out, but PadSplit has zero community element to it.
Maybe
they're
that's
not
why
trying to
their
promote that.
stays are so much shorter than yours. Yeah.
That's a piece of it for sure.
Yeah. So your model versus PadSplit, if people wanted to explore more into co-living model, what are the pros and cons for each? Obviously, you have a bias towards your own.
I mean, I
but
think the pros of PadSplit are that PadSplit will do PadSplit. PadSplit will manage it. That's the pro.
Yeah.
Like if you want them to manage it, then you have to follow their model. So if you're not interested in creating a property management company, you have zero desire to find a property manager, then yeah, they're right now in the space. They're the easy button.
Yes. Okay.
Right. So that's the
Pay
pro.
for that easy button. Right.
There's
a cost to it. But
yeah, it's a property. Yeah, I mean, if you use their full service, you're going to pay probably 20 some percent, 23, 22.5%, I believe, if you use their platform and then they manage everything. And then on top of that, you use, they manage the property. There's like two elements to PadSplit. They manage the property and they manage the tenants and maybe tenant disputes and filling the rooms. That's like one side of PadSplit. And then they have another company that manages the actual property, the toilets and the doors that break and So if you use both of those services with them, I think you're close to 20 some percent. Yeah.
And where your model is really building the systems around so you to be self-managed, right? So you can go out, Catherine can go out and have 10 houses all with 6 people in each house and be able to comfortably manage that.
I'd say that, and also teaching people the systems where they could delegate that to someone else. So maybe they hire a virtual assistant or they hire someone to handle an aspect of it. And the third thing that I really coach people on and I connect them with, almost like Catherine was saying, is like we have affiliates. So I have a company that manages, and then I have affiliates in about 7 other states: Austin, Houston, Denver, drawing a blank on the other cities right now. But anyway, we have seven cities where we will connect. If someone's, instead of using the PadSplit big tech company, they can use one of these smaller property management companies that's a little bit more concierge service, understands our model a little bit better. We're building out our affiliates around the United States to manage those.
It was about 2 weeks ago, I was out in Arizona seeing Cindy. We were looking at we were attending a conference and looking at some other properties. And Phoenix is where she was from. Leslie's there. But you were running your 5-day challenge. We actually, on that Monday, we're doing some work and we were listening to you and trying to get some work done.
Nice.
What is your 5-day challenge? You want to talk about that real quick?
The 5-day challenge is my way of getting the word out about co-living. Yeah. It's an hour to 2 hours a day of content and Q&A. It's completely free unless you buy a little bonus or upgrade and you want some checklists or whatever. But it's a really great way to kind of get your feet wet in co-living. It's a lot of content. I bring on great guests, and it's just a great way to really deeper dive into this model to find out if this model is actually right for you as your investment strategy. And at the end of that, you'll kind of know. You'll be like, well, this is for me or this is not for me. So yeah, highly recommend it. I think we've got one coming up in December 11th is our next one. We're going to do it a little bit differently this time, but I'm excited. We're always adding new content and new ways of presenting the information. So all you have to do if you're interested in doing that, what's up, Nancy? Yeah, Nancy, thanks for saying that. Is scaleyourrealestate.com. That's where you register. I think that's correctly. Scaleyourrealestate.com. Yeah. So get on the list, go to the 5-day challenge. And as Nancy said, Nancy just dropped that in the chat. I appreciate that, Nancy, because like it is a lot of content. It's value packed. Like, it's a free event, and there is an offer for sure at the end for me and my team to hold your hand, or we have options from like we give you all the information and then support you throughout the year. And so one of our programs that we present at the end of it and is called 12 months to Financial Freedom University, because it's a sprint. We're like, hey, are you in? if you believe in this strategy and you want to reach financial freedom, let's sprint and see how fast we can go. Let's see if we can get there. And then we have programs that are, really more done for you, where we'll go and we'll find properties and we'll fill them and we'll manage them and we'll do everything. I mean, you can be very hands off with what we do just because we've got it down to a science. And we've been doing this for almost over a decade now. But regardless of whether or not you continue on with one of our programs, the 5-day challenge is definitely a great way to start. It's a great way to just get some value and really deep dive into this model and understand it. And not just understand the model, but see how it can get you to your financial freedom number and to see how fast you can get there. I think what I'm trying to present to people is like, I've got twofold. One, together we can solve affordable housing. There's, beautiful vision, right? Also, together we can reach financial freedom a lot faster than anybody has ever told you. And you can do it with zero down. You can do it with relationships. You can do it with networking. You can do it with raising capital. You don't even have to have tens or even hundreds, you don't have to have hundreds or even tens of thousands of dollars. Like, there are ways to partner with people. There are ways to raise capital. There are ways to arbitrage this method. We'll go into some more of those in depth in the 5-day challenge.
In this community, and this will get watched by people, not just here, but we'll record this and share it. And there'll be some more people, but really the people that are actually taking action and coming here tonight, within our own community, I wonder if we can put together a group, a little, and all kind of come to that as a team and see how we can do that together. That would be interesting. Anybody be up for that?
That'd be so cool. Yeah.
Robin's in. All right. Cindy's in. I see her hands up. So, Leslie, you in? All right. So we'll talk about that offline. Maybe that way as a team, we can kind of support each other. We'll come to one of your events and
please, you're invited. Everybody's invited. Come on. Nancy says she'd do it again. I'll drop the link one more time because I think someone was just asking for it. I feel like maybe not, but yeah,
I'll copy it.
Yeah, I would love for that.
Paste it, and then
Cleveland's a good area. Savannah, yeah, that's great. Rebecca's asking if there's a formula to figure out the pricing of every room. Yeah, Yes-ish, there is. I mean, it really depends on what market you're in. It depends on how expensive your real estate is. There's not like a very easy and quick formula. But it involves getting comps on what you think you can rent the rooms for. Ultimately is what it involves. And so one of our big strategies that we'll use is just, if we're going into a brand new market, we'll actually run ads before we buy the house. We'll actually run what we call test ads. And we'll test the market's appetite for co-living, for our type of co-living. What kind of room rent for? How many hits do we get? And then if people respond, obviously we want people to respond, then we'll just create a waiting list. We'll be like, hey, we're creating a waiting list, fill out this form, let's go. So that's kind of where we're at with that. There's a little bit more details on that strategy, but that's
Yeah, that's a great idea because it builds scarcity, right? People are like, oh, I gotta get on a waiting list. I don't want to miss out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
exactly.
When you're ready to roll out, you have your 6, 8, 10 people ready to go. The house is boom, rented in a week.
Exactly.
All right.
Yep. Yeah.
What's the best place to advertise? Where are you looking?
Yeah, I think the best place to advertise is every place that people are looking for rooms in your city, which is different per city, which is why it's not a direct answer. And so it helps to kind of know. I mean, one of the things you can do is you could even just Google like room for rent and then enter your city and then see what comes up, what comes up on the first page of Google. And then, you can then those are the places you should be advertising in your city, in that city. So that's kind of a little hack to figure that out. But Craigslist still works, Facebook Marketplace, where any place you'd rent an apartment, frankly, is still a good place to rent a room. Like you can do Zillow, you can do Hot Pads, you can Trulia, I think, has a place for you to do it. You can do Furnished Finder is good, but we don't have furnished rooms, so we don't use that very often. And we've never been a huge fan of that platform. I saw someone mentioning that earlier, but there's a lot of places. I mean, I think we have a list of, and I don't know them all, and my property manager would be able to spout probably half of them off. But I mean, it's there's 15, 20, 30 sites now. There's a lot of sites specific to room rentals that have popped up just as this has become more popular. But
Well, in case I missed a question on the side, here's a chance. Anybody have a question that we've missed that you
yeah,
just want
please
to
fire
ask
away.
Sam while we have him?
Savannah says, is there any market for more rural-ish high-end type stays? Rural-ish high-end type stays. I think you need to be thinking, Savannah, more about like, where is housing an issue? You know, I have a house in a town called Black Mountain, North Carolina. Google that. Like, it's 7,000 people, but housing's an issue. And I knew that because I knew I vacation there. I have a house in Fairview. Right, these homes are on septic, to give you an idea. Like, they're kind of in the boonies, right? Like, but I know housing's an issue. So you've really got to understand where housing is an issue. And then, yeah, anywhere housing's an issue, I think it'll work just fine. But if housing's not an issue, and like, you know, which is very rare in the United States right now, but that's how I would be thinking about that. You know, you talk to the servers in the town. Where do they live? Are they having trouble finding a place to live? Talk to the service workers, you know, talk to the people that are working at Target and Walmart. And, you know, sometimes that can provide a lot of great data. Richard's asking quick questions. So midterm rentals, can it be done? So midterm rentals, can it be done with regular renters with insurance, or does midterm rentals only work when homeowners needing a place to rent? I'm not sure I fully understand that question, Richard. If you want to clarify it, I think oh, rent regular rentals insurance. Yeah, they can buy renters insurance. If that's what you're asking, if you're asking about renters insurance, they can buy renters insurance for a room. So that works. They can buy it through a lot of different platforms.
Do you encourage renter insurance?
It's not mandatory for our company, but we encourage it for sure. Yeah, great. Yeah, that's usually what happens. Catherine's correct. Like, you know, you go into an area, the workers that run everything just start to get pushed further and further out. Now they're driving more, they're spending more on gas. It can become a big issue. But, you know, if you can provide something closer to the amenities of the town at a great rate, that's gold. So location is important. Like, you don't want to be, you know, a lot of times this is working professional type housing. So if you can be close to the metropolitan area, that's cool. Asheville too. Yeah, we've got a couple homes in Asheville. I mentioned those towns, Black Mountain, Fairview, which opened a 10-bedroom in Leicester, which is like small, but it's like a town right outside of Asheville. And real estate is expensive in Asheville, way more expensive than Charlotte. It's like significantly more expensive. So it's needed there even more. Like, Catherine, do you live in Asheville? Are you from Asheville? No, you're in Orlando, but you go, okay. Everybody in Florida knows where Asheville is. That's what I've learned.
Yeah. I just have a friend there, and same thing. They're just saying places they're getting priced out of, or like you said, they're going further and further and further away, but they're local, they live there, but they're living 45 minutes to an hour now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a beautiful town with like great restaurants, right? And like very foodie place. It's one of my favorite towns. We vacation there all the time. We go up that's where a lot of our Airbnbs are. And but co-living is a big need there too.
Sam, we greatly appreciate your time tonight. Here's your chance to talk about whatever you want. I know kind of earlier you said you're an economy kind of guy. You have the world vision, a world view of certain things. Anything else you want to talk about besides co-living?
You mean I can get political? We can talk about whatever I want?
Whatever you would like.
No, I'm not gonna. I'm middle of the road. I'm not going there. I'm a practical guy. I'm just like, hey, just ask the question, what works, you know, what works. No, I really don't have, this was great. You guys asked questions that helped me understand that you guys kind of already have an understanding a little bit about how this works. So that's great. I would say, you know, be courageous, dive in. really learn this model. I think I think we have an opportunity to be like, imagine someone came to you and said, hey, this is Airbnb in 2011 or 2012. You can invest, you can get started, you can be the first to, I think, I think that's a great opportunity. And I think that's the opportunity we have with co-living right now. I think it's at that stage. We're not, people ask me all the time, wait, is it saturated? I'm like, what? Like millions of people that still need housing. We're not even close to being saturated. Like, so I think fully understanding that, taking advantage of the opportunity, leaning in, learning as much as you can. Would love to see you guys in the 5-day challenge. Thank you for this opportunity to just share and connect. And so, yeah, Shane, really appreciate the opportunity. Great to meet all of you. Cindy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sam. I greatly appreciate it. Well, we will see you in that 5-day challenge.
Awesome, guys. God bless you. Thank you. Hope this was helpful.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Great to see you again. Sorry, it's been more than a hot minute.
Yep.
So, but
all right,
we'll be
bye-bye.
doing more soon. Have a good night.
God bless you.